No dream, no destiny. Somewhere inside you, right now, there is a dream you have not yet given yourself permission to chase. Think about that for a moment. Not a fantasy, not a wish you make once a year on your birthday, but a real dream, one that has been quietly knocking on the door of your heart for years, waiting for you to finally open it. Most people never open that door. They hear the knock, they feel the pull, and then they turn up the noise of daily life just loud enough to drown it out. But the knocking never really stops. It just gets quieter, until one day, if you are not careful, it stops altogether. And that, my friend, is the saddest sound in the world. Not failure, not rejection, silence. The silence of a dream that gave up knocking because no one ever answered. Let me tell you something simple, something I have watched play out in 1,000 different lives, in 1,000 different forms. No dream, no destiny. Say that with me. No dream, no destiny. It is not poetry. It is not a clever slogan for a poster. It is a law, as real and as unforgiving as gravity. A ship without a destination drifts. A field without seed grows nothing but weeds. And a life without a dream simply passes the years, one after another, until they add up to nothing more than existence. Destiny does not arrive by accident. It is not handed out like party favors to the lucky few. Destiny is built, brick by brick, decision by decision, and it always begins with a dream. Here is a question I want you to sit with, not answer quickly, but actually sit with. If your life continues exactly as it is today, doing what you are doing, thinking what you are thinking, avoiding what you are avoiding, where will you be in 10 years? Not where do you hope you will be? Where will you actually be? Most people cannot answer that question honestly, because the honest answer frightens them. They know, somewhere deep down, that the current path leads to more of the same. Same paycheck, same excuses, same regrets wearing slightly older clothes. And yet they keep walking that path because it is familiar. And familiar feels safer than a dream that asks something of them. Success is not complicated. It never was. It is not the result of luck or timing or being born into the right family. Success is the natural result of a dream pursued with discipline. That is the whole secret, hiding in plain sight. People spend their entire lives searching for a shortcut that does not exist, when the real path was always simple, just not easy. Dream, plan, work, repeat. Simple to understand, difficult to do, and that difficulty is exactly why so few people ever do it. The rareness of a fulfilled life is not because destiny is stingy. It is because dreaming, real dreaming, followed by real discipline, is rare. Think about the seasons for a moment. Nature does not rush. Spring does not demand that the harvest arrive early. The farmer plants in spring, tends through summer, and only in autumn does he gather what he sowed. He does not curse the soil in July because there is no fruit yet. He understands the season he is in. Your dream works the same way. You are somewhere in a season right now, planting, tending, or waiting to harvest. The tragedy is that most people quit in the planting season because they mistake it for failure. They expected summer's fruit while they were still standing in spring's soil. Patience is not weakness. Patience is understanding the season you are in and doing what that season requires. I want to ask you something else. When was the last time you allowed yourself to dream without immediately listing the reasons it would not work? Most people cannot even finish imagining the life they want before their own mind interrupts with a wall of objections. No money, no time, no connections, too old, too late, too risky. Notice something interesting about that list. It is always about limitation, never about possibility. And here is the hard truth. The size of your dream will always be limited by the size of your belief in yourself. Shrink the belief, and you shrink the dream to match it. Expand the belief, and suddenly the dream that once felt impossible starts to look merely difficult, which is a very different thing. No dream, no destiny. I will keep bringing you back to that phrase throughout our time together today, because it deserves to be carved somewhere you will see it daily. Destiny is not waiting for you in some far-off future, arriving automatically once you turn a certain age or reach a certain title. Destiny is being written right now, in the small decisions you make today, this very day, the books you choose to read or ignore, the hour you choose to sleep in or rise early, the conversation you choose to have or avoid. Destiny is not a single dramatic moment. It is the compound interest of 1,000 ordinary choices made consistently in the direction of your dream. Let us talk honestly about fear for a moment, because fear is the great thief of dreams. Fear does not usually announce itself loudly. It rarely says, "I am here to destroy your future." Instead, it whispers reasonable-sounding things. Wait until you have more experience. Wait until the timing is better. Wait until you feel ready. And here is the cruel joke fear plays on us. Readiness never fully arrives. There is always one more course to take, one more dollar to save, one more sign to wait for. Meanwhile, years pass, and the dream that once felt urgent slowly becomes a distant memory of who you used to be before you settled. Consider the story of two brothers raised in the very same home, by the very same parents, facing the very same hardships. One brother grows up to build a meaningful life, disciplined, purposeful, generous. The other grows up bitter, stuck, blaming the very same circumstances his brother overcame. Ask each of them why their life turned out the way it did, and you will get the exact same answer from both, because of my childhood. One let it become his excuse, the other let it become his fuel. The circumstances were identical. The dream, and what each brother did with it, made all the difference. This is not a story about privilege. It is a story about decision. Here is a question worth asking yourself honestly tonight. When the house is quiet and there is no one to perform for, what have you postponed in the name of someday? Someday I will start that business. Someday I will write that book. Someday I will repair that relationship. Someday I will get healthy. Someday is a thief disguised as a promise. It sounds like patience, but it is actually procrastination wearing a nicer outfit. Someday has never built anything. Someday has never launched a single dream in the history of the world. Only today has that power. Only today can you act. Someday does not exist on any calendar you will ever own. No dream, no destiny. Let that settle deeper this time. Notice I am not saying no plan, no destiny, though planning matters greatly. I am not saying no talent, no destiny, though talent helps. I am saying no dream, because the dream is the spark that makes a person willing to endure the planning, the practicing, the failing, and the rising again. Talent without a dream fades into wasted potential. Discipline without a dream becomes empty routine. The dream is the fire. Everything else is simply the wood that keeps it burning. Without the fire, the wood just sits there, cold and unused, no matter how much of it you have stacked up. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a young sapling planted at the base of a mountain. In its first years, it looks fragile, easily overlooked, nothing remarkable to see. A person walking by might not even notice it. But give that sapling enough seasons, enough sun, enough rain, enough quiet growth that no one applauds, and eventually it becomes a tree whose branches shade travelers who never knew how small it once was. Your dream, in its early days, will look exactly like that sapling. Unremarkable, fragile, easy for others, and even for you to dismiss. But do not judge the size of a dream by how it looks in its first season. Judge it by what it is capable of becoming, given enough time and enough care. I want to address something people rarely say out loud. Dreaming can feel embarrassing. There is a strange kind of social pressure that tells us to be realistic, to keep our expectations modest, to not get our hopes up. Well-meaning people, sometimes people who love us very much, will hand us that advice wrapped in concern. And here is what I have observed. Most people offering that advice are not protecting you from disappointment. They are protecting themselves from watching you succeed at something they were once too afraid to attempt themselves. That is not always malicious. Often it is simply human. But you must learn to separate loving concern from limiting belief, because they can sound remarkably similar, and only you can decide which one you will let shape your future. Discipline is the bridge between dream and destiny. Not motivation, which rises and falls like weather. Not inspiration, which visits occasionally and leaves just as quickly. Discipline, the willingness to keep showing up on the days when the dream feels distant and the results feel invisible. Anyone can act on a dream when they feel excited. The real test, the test that separates those who arrive at their destiny from those who merely dreamed about it, is whether you keep working when the excitement fades and only the commitment remains. That is where character is built. Not in the burst of enthusiasm on day one, but in the quiet consistency of day 1000. Let me ask you plainly, what would your life look like 1 year from today if you gave your dream the same discipline you currently give to your excuses? Think about how skillfully you have justified staying where you are, how articulate your reasons sound, how convincing your explanations have become, even to yourself. Now imagine channeling that same energy, that same creativity, into building instead of justifying. Imagine waking each day and asking not why this cannot work, but how this could work. That single shift in questioning has launched more successful lives than any secret formula ever could. No dream, no destiny. Consider the opposite phrase for a moment, because sometimes understanding what something is not helps clarify what it is. No destiny without a dream means destiny is not random. It is not assigned. It is not something that simply happens to fortunate people while unfortunate people wait on the sidelines. Destiny is earned through dreaming boldly and then working faithfully toward that dream, season after season, disappointment after disappointment, until the work and the dream finally meet in the middle. That meeting point, that is what people call destiny. But it was never a gift. It was always a harvest. Think about the ships that once set sail toward unknown horizons, toward lands that existed only as rumors and hopeful maps. Those sailors did not know exactly what waited on the other side of the ocean. They could not see the shore before they left the harbor. If they had waited for certainty, they would have died old men, still standing on familiar docks, having never discovered anything at all. Your dream asks the same of you. It asks you to set sail before you can see the shore, trusting that the horizon holds something worth discovering, even when the middle of the ocean feels frightening and endless. Every meaningful destination in human history was reached by someone willing to sail before being it. Certainty arrived. I want to speak now to the person listening who feels they have started too late, who looks at their calendar and believes the window for their dream has already closed. Let me tell you something about timing that most people misunderstand. Comparison is the thief of timing. Your neighbor's timeline is not your timeline. Someone else's 25 is not your 50. There have been remarkable lives built starting later than you think, by people who refused to accept that their season had passed simply because it did not match someone else's calendar. The question was never how much time has passed. The question is always what you will do with the time that remains. That question has no expiration date, no dream, no destiny. You were not created to live an average, forgettable existence, quietly enduring years that blur together into a single gray memory. Somewhere inside you is a version of your life still waiting to be built, still waiting for you to stop negotiating with your fear and start negotiating with your discipline instead. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is a possibility, sitting patiently, available to anyone willing to do the unglamorous, repetitive, sometimes lonely work required to reach it. Destiny does not care how talented you are. It cares how consistent you are. Let us talk about regret, because regret is destiny's quiet warning, arriving too late to change anything, only early enough to teach a lesson to whoever is paying attention. I have watched people in their later years speak with a particular kind of sorrow, not about the risks that failed, but about the risks they never took at all. Failure, it turns out, teaches something valuable and eventually fades into a story you can tell with a laugh. Regret does not fade. It sits quietly in the corner of a person's later years, whispering the same unanswerable question over and over, what if I had tried? That question has no comfortable answer, and it never will. Here is something worth remembering on the difficult days, and there will be difficult days. Every single person who ever built something meaningful passed through a season of doubt that felt permanent at the time. The entrepreneur doubted before the business found its footing. The writer doubted before the pages became a book anyone wanted to read. The parent doubted whether they were doing any of it correctly. Doubt is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Doubt is simply the toll you pay for attempting something worth attempting. The people who reached their destiny were not the ones who never doubted. They were the ones who kept walking anyway, doubt and all. No dream, no destiny. Let this phrase now start working differently in your mind, not as a warning, but as an invitation. It is not simply telling you what happens without a dream. It is quietly telling you what becomes possible the moment you finally allow yourself to dream. Honestly again, without immediately talking yourself out of it. Somewhere between where you are sitting right now and where your dream lives, there is a bridge. That bridge is built of daily discipline, not occasional bursts of motivation. It is built one plank at a time, and every single day you choose action over avoidance. You lay down another plank. I want to give you a picture of discipline that might change how you think about it. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not the opposite of freedom. Discipline is actually the foundation freedom is built upon. The person who disciplines their spending in their 20s earns financial freedom in their matures. The person who disciplines their health habits in their 30s earns physical freedom in their mantra. Physical freedom. Discipline today purchases freedom tomorrow. Undisciplined today purchases regret tomorrow. Every single day you are making a purchase with your choices. The only question is which future you are buying. Consider the mountain climber standing at base camp, looking up at a summit shrouded in cloud. Impossible to fully see from where they stand. They cannot see the entire path from the bottom. They can only see the next few steps in front of them. And yet they begin climbing anyway, trusting that each visible step will reveal the next one once they reach it. Your dream will rarely show you the entire staircase at once. It will only show you the next step. Climbing the mountain of your destiny does not require seeing the summit clearly from where you stand today. It only requires taking the next honest step available to you right now. Let me ask you something practical, something you can act on today rather than simply reflect on. What is one small concrete action, something that could take less than an hour, that would move you visibly closer to the dream you have been postponing? Not the whole plan, not the perfect strategy, just one honest step. Write it down somewhere you will see it. Then do it before you sleep tonight. Destiny is not built from grand sweeping gestures made once a year. It is built from small, unglamorous actions taken consistently, actions so modest that no one applauds them, yet so cumulative that eventually no one can ignore their result. No dream, no destiny. I want you to notice something about how that phrase is structured. It places the dream first, always first, because the dream is the cause and the destiny is the effect. People often try to reverse the order. They wait to feel confident before they dream boldly. Wait to feel deserving before they pursue something meaningful. Wait for permission that will never formally arrive. But confidence is not the prerequisite for dreaming. Confidence is the result of having dreamed and then acted despite the absence of confidence. You do not need to feel ready. You only need to begin, and readiness will grow to meet you somewhere along the road. Think for a moment about the seed buried beneath the soil. Invisible, silent, apparently doing nothing at all. From the surface, it looks like failure. Nothing is happening. No progress is visible. And yet beneath that silent surface, roots are forming. Structure is being built. Preparation is occurring exactly where no one can see it. Then one day, without warning to the casual observer, it breaks through the soil and begins its visible growth. Your dream often works the exact same way. The years that feel like nothing is happening are frequently the years where the most essential, invisible work is taking place. Do not mistake invisible progress for absence of progress. Let us address the comparison trap honestly, because it quietly poisons more dreams than almost anything else. Scrolling through the visible achievements of others while measuring them against your own. Invisible beginnings is a losing game every single time. You are comparing someone else's chapter 20 to your chapter 1, and then wondering why you feel discouraged. Stop measuring your beginning against someone else's middle. Measure your today against your yesterday. Are you slightly more disciplined than last month? Slightly more skilled than last year? That comparison, the honest comparison against your own former self, is the only one that will ever serve your dream well. No dream, no destiny. Here is a harder truth hiding inside that phrase. Sometimes the reason a person has no clear dream is not laziness. It is self-protection. If you never clearly define what you want, you can never clearly fail to get it. Vague wishing feels safer than specific dreaming, because a vague wish can never be definitively disappointed. But that safety is an illusion, purchased at an enormous price. The price is a lifetime of drifting, of vague dissatisfaction with no clear cause, of wondering why life feels aimless without ever being willing to name a clear aim. Naming your dreams specifically is risky. It is also the only way destiny knows where to find you. I want to speak about relationships for a moment, because dreams do not exist in isolation from the people around us. Sometimes pursuing your dream will cost you the comfort of people who preferred you smaller, quieter, less ambitious than you are becoming. This is one of the more painful truths about growth. Not everyone will celebrate your climb. Some people are comfortable with you at the base of the mountain and grow strangely uneasy as you begin ascending. This does not mean you must abandon every relationship that feels resistant to your growth. It means you must be honest about which relationships are rooted in genuine care and which are what's rooted in a comfortable status quo that your dream now threatens. Let me offer you a different kind of question. One aimed directly at your daily habits rather than your distant dream. What does your average Tuesday actually look like? Not your vision board, not your 5-year plan, your actual ordinary Tuesday. the one that repeats 50 times a year with only minor variation. Destiny is not built on the extraordinary days. It is built on what an ordinary Tuesday, repeated consistently, eventually becomes. If your ordinary Tuesday currently contains no meaningful movement toward your dream, that is the honest place to begin making changes, not in some distant future month, but starting with tomorrow's Tuesday. No dream, no destiny. There is also a quiet danger in dreaming only in the abstract, dreaming about being successful, being happy, being fulfilled, without ever translating that abstract longing into something specific enough to act upon. A dream that cannot be acted upon this week is not yet a real dream. It is still just a feeling, pleasant but powerless. The moment you convert that feeling into a specific target, a specific skill to build, a specific relationship to repair, a specific business to start, that is the moment the dream becomes something destiny can actually respond to. Vague longing produces nothing. Specific dreaming, paired with specific action, produces everything worth having. Consider the story of the two travelers walking the exact same road. One walks with his head down, focused entirely on the discomfort of each step, the blisters, the heat, the distance still remaining. The other walks with his eyes occasionally lifting toward the horizon, reminding himself why he began the journey in the first place. Both travelers experience the identical physical hardship, but only one of them experiences meaning alongside that hardship. Your dream serves exactly this purpose during difficult seasons. It does not remove the blisters or shorten the distance. It gives the discomfort a reason worth enduring, and that reason changes everything about how the difficulty feels. Let me speak honestly about failure now, because a life aimed at a real dream will inevitably include it, and pretending otherwise does you no favors. Failure is not evidence that your dream was wrong. Failure is simply the tuition destiny charges for education you could not have received any other way. Every person who eventually succeeded at something meaningful failed first, often repeatedly, often painfully, often publicly. What separated them from those who quit was not the absence of failure. It was their refusal to let failure become the final chapter instead of merely a difficult one. Read the biography of anyone you admire closely enough, and you will find failure, again and again, quietly doing its necessary work. No dream, no destiny. I want to return to this phrase once more, because repetition is how truth eventually settles from the mind into the character. Say it to yourself in moments of doubt. Say it when the alarm goes off and the bed feels warmer than the goal feels urgent. Say it when someone questions why you are working so hard towards something that has not yet paid off visibly. No dream, no destiny. Let it become less of a phrase you heard once and more of a compass you carry daily, quietly correcting your direction whenever you drift toward comfort instead of growth. Think about the builder constructing a home. He does not begin with the roof. He begins with a foundation buried entirely underground, invisible once the home is finished, unappreciated by anyone who simply admires the finished structure. Yet without that invisible foundation, the visible home collapses under its own weight the first time it faces real pressure. Your daily discipline is that foundation. It will not be visible in the same way your eventual success is visible. No one applauds the early morning you spent studying instead of sleeping in, or the late evening you spent practicing instead of relaxing. But that invisible foundation is precisely what allows the visible destiny to stand upright, once it finally arrives. Here is a question that deserves an honest answer, rather than a comfortable one. Who have you become while waiting for your dream to arrive? Waiting itself is not passive. It shapes a person, for better or for worse. Some people wait and grow bitter, watching others succeed while their own dream sits untouched. Others wait and grow prepared, using the waiting season to build skills, relationships, and character that will serve the dream once it finally arrives. The waiting is unavoidable in almost every worthwhile pursuit. What you do with the waiting, however, is entirely optional and entirely yours to decide. No dream, no destiny. Let me now speak to the specific fear of disappointing yourself, because this fear often hides beneath louder, more socially acceptable fears like financial risk or public judgment. Many people are less afraid of others watching them fail than they are of confirming, privately, to themselves, that they are not capable of the life they have quietly wanted. That private fear is powerful precisely because it is silent, unspoken, never named out loud to another living soul. Naming it now, out loud even if only to yourself, begins to loosen its grip. You are allowed to attempt something and discover you are more capable than that fear ever gave you credit for. Let us talk about the ordinary heroes hiding within families and neighborhoods everywhere. People who never sought public recognition, but who quietly pursued a dream anyway. Whether that dream was raising children with integrity, building a small business that served their community faithfully, or mastering a craft that brought them daily satisfaction. Destiny does not require a stadium of witnesses. Some of the most fulfilled lives ever lived were witnessed by almost no one beyond a small circle of family and friends. Do not measure your dream only by its visibility to strangers. Measure it by whether it brings genuine meaning to the life you are actually living. No dream, no destiny. I want to leave you with a picture before we close. One final image to carry with you long after these words have ended. Imagine standing at the very end of your life, looking back across all the years behind you. In that final review, you will not be asked how comfortable you kept yourself. You will not be graded on how many risks you successfully avoided. The only question that will matter in that quiet, final moment is whether you built the life you were capable of building, or whether you spent your years protecting yourself from the very dream that could have given your life its deepest meaning. So let me ask you one final time the same question I asked at the very beginning, because it deserves to be asked again now that we have traveled this far together. What is the dream you have been postponing? Not the safe version, edited down to something easier to justify. The real one, the one that occasionally surfaces in quiet moments before you push it back down. That dream has not disappeared simply because you have ignored it. It is still there, patiently waiting, the same way it has waited through every excuse you have offered it so far. Today is the only day you actually have the power to act within. Not someday, not next year, not once conditions improve. Today, take one honest step toward the dream you have been postponing, however small that step may look to anyone watching. Destiny is not assembled from grand, dramatic leaps. It is assembled from ordinary steps, taken with extraordinary consistency, across seasons that will test your patience and your discipline in equal measure. You do not need certainty to begin. You only need enough courage to take the next visible step, trusting that the step after it will reveal itself in time. Remember this above everything else we have discussed today. No dream, no destiny. Your future is not something that will simply happen to you while you wait comfortably on the sidelines of your own life. It is something you are building, decision by decision, discipline by discipline, starting from wherever you happen to be standing right now. Imperfect and unfinished as that starting point may feel. Dream honestly, work faithfully, endure patiently, and one day, when you finally stand at the destination you once could barely allow yourself to imagine, you will understand that it was never luck that brought you there. It was the dream you finally decided to take seriously, and the destiny that dream was always quietly waiting to become.